I've been ranking the World Cup teams, the 32 teams who've qualified, 32-1 over at PST. You can check out that article now and hammer me, everyone, in the comments for that. But we wanted to discuss who are the clear favorites. I mean, we're going to focus on the top 10 here, but get your questions and your answers coming in the comments section, lads, and everyone else out there. Who do we think is the favorites to win the World Cup? I'm intrigued to see people in the comments here. Are there any clear favorites? Are there any teams that have really put themselves above the competition and you think they're definitely going to go all the way? Because I would have said a few months ago, there probably isn't. And there's a solid group of 7-8 teams who are above the rest, but I don't know. You could flip a coin and any of those teams could win it. But Andy, I'm going to come to you. There seems to be a few teams in the last two windows, really, who've just elevated their level, and their players, especially at club level, have taken it to a whole new level. And go ahead and tell me who you think are the favorites to win the World Cup in Qatar.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a boring answer because they're the betting favorites right now, and I think everybody is expecting a lot from them. But I'm looking at the Brazil squad that was recently called up, and the forward group, lethal. The midfield group, as hard-nosed and technically skilled as well as could possibly be, and the defense really solid at all the clubs that you want to have, especially defenders playing at their club. It just feels like everything, and the goalkeeper situation being as rich as it is for Brazil as well, it just feels like everything has lined up perfectly. We talked about, a golden generation with the U.S. men's national team. It feels like this is kind of a combination of almost two, pretty good generations from Brazil, because there's a lot of very young players in the squad and there's a lot of players on kind of the back end of their career. But I think when you put those two things together, you've got experience, you've got youthful hunger that's going to push on those veterans. It just feels like the balance, everything for Brazil, aside from the fact that it's Brazil and things can blow up pretty quickly, especially at international tournaments. It feels like everything's pointing towards Brazil for me at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. A great comment there from Eddie. I mean, the thing, it's deep and talented and a solid defense, right, Nick? That's the difference, I think, for this Brazilian side this time around. And one of the other favorites in my mind, Lionel Messi's Argentina, they figured things out defensively at the back as well. And they actually give him a platform to go and win a game, right? They'll win games 1-0. We saw him win the Copa America. Doing it that way. They have so many talented attackers and have done over the years, but it's always been defending has been a problem. But they figured it out, right, Nick? So Brazil and Argentina, the two South American powerhouses, they've elevated themselves over the last few months and seem to be the clear favorites. You agree with that?
I do, especially because France has struggled in the last few months. I think France, talent-wise, very much a U.S. situation. In fact, right now, I just got a little lift from what you said about the U.S., right? Like right now, I'm thinking, okay, maybe the talent is still to get rearranged, because I'm not going to rule out Brazil, so I guess I shouldn't rule out the U.S. exceeding expectations. But how about this? When the World Cup starts, Brazil will have played 30 matches in the 2 years prior, going back to November 2019. They will have lost twice, both 1-0 losses to Argentina. So, I mean, this is... That is special. 30 games with 4 draws, 2 losses, and the losses only being to a very good Argentina team. However, I know France, they just dodged relegation, and that happens to the best of us, right, Joe? Out of the Nations League. But
it's still too soon. Still too soon.
France has also in the last calendar year beaten Belgium, beaten Spain, and really done their homework in other games. So I mean, Kylian Mbappe might be the best player in the world right now. Might be. Yeah. I know Holland has a claim there as well, and De Bruyne has a claim, but they have Griezmann coming off the bench. Giroud in a blue shirt is suddenly timeless. It's like he goes back to his Arsenal days, his peak Arsenal days, when he pulls on the France shirt. And this is a team that, like you mentioned with Brazil, they call it their B team, and you still think they're going deep into the tournament.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to think about those two teams and sort of the generational talents they've had with Neymar and Messi, and just never been able to get in the structure around them. And now they have that, and you can clearly see how deep they are by the players are not even calling up to these squads, right? With the Arsenal contingent not even getting a look in this time, but they're clearly going to be in the thinking there for Chichi. But this is this is so difficult because France, a lot of people in the comments are bringing them up and saying, they haven't been great recently. A lot of managers now, when it comes to the Nations League, especially in Europe, when we look at France, we look at Spain, we look at England, we look at Germany, their main focus was on trying new players or trying combinations or giving players minutes who haven't been playing regularly for their club teams. They want to give them minutes ahead of the World Cup. And so France is a really good shout that they shouldn't be slipping down. They're the reigning world champions for a reason. A lot of great players, deep squad. Didier Deschamps is proven to be a very, very good tournament manager, which you need. You need that experience of going deep. Andy, I've got Belgium really high. I've got Belgium up to third. Yeah. And Portugal and Netherlands round out the top 6.
Yes.
You have any issues with those teams or any teams that you really are high on?
No, yeah, actually the Netherlands. And I'm glad perfect transition there, Joe. It feels like Louis van Gaal, back in the job. It's by the way, it's just great to have him back. I think in like a capacity as important as a top 10 nation manager at a World Cup. I think the sport is better off for that. But the way that this team is set up, really good center backs all the way across the back, all really good on the ball. And if you look at the international game and the way it's played, it's about quickness. It's about counterattacking. This is a team that doesn't really have a recognized center forward. They've got a lot of wingers that kind of play as secondary forwards. This feels like a team that's going to set up to just defend and counter, and they are going to be so difficult to stop, I think, if they fully commit to playing that way under Louis van Gaal. And at that point, like we could be talking about Memphis Depay, 4 or 5 transfers moved on from leaving Manchester United, which he got that move, by the way, from two previous World Cup. Like the irony and the poetic justice, I guess, of the World Cup. That would be kind of perfect for a team like the Netherlands. They missed the last World Cup as well. So this is a really big tournament for them. And if you kind of compare where they're at compared to the U.S. having missed the last World Cup, what were we doing with all of our time, and what were they doing with theirs?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I want to chuck this question out to the comments section. Any dark horses, any teams that you guys think are going to stun everyone and surprise everyone? Because there's always a couple, right? There's always a couple of teams that come from nowhere. I mean, is it Costa Rica a few tournaments ago? That just came from absolutely nowhere. We obviously had Ghana before as well. I'm going to go through my rankings and just say, there's a few teams, obviously I mentioned that England, Germany, and Spain, who have the talent and quality in theory to go deep, but the form and maybe just missing that one key player. I think in England, missing really a dominant centre-back. Germany, they probably score goals, but sometimes I do worry about them sometimes that they're going to score enough. And then Spain, again, the same issue for them. Morata, is not prolific, and who else do they have up top there? Again, a very good team on their day, those 3 teams. And then I'm looking at the group just outside of them. We've got Denmark, Croatia, Senegal, those kind of teams, Uruguay. Nick, any of those teams you see making a really, really big push and surprising us all in Qatar?
Well, yeah, I think Senegal has a pretty good chance. They have rung up some really good experiential wins, right? They stopped Mohamed Salah famously in Egypt from getting the World Cup. They stopped them from collecting a Cup of Nations, right? I mean, this is a team under Sadio Mane who has done it. And when you start to look at the players that they have in the fold in the midfield, that Premier League spirit can really come across. Gana Gueye, Mendy from Leicester City, Kouyaté, and even what's the name of the guy, Sarr, that Tottenham signed. But I think they have a lot of players that I think can really contribute. And Sadio Mane, we know what the pressure he puts on back lines. Koulibaly at the back, and again in an A group that, as long as it's not fixed for Qatar, I think we can be in a pretty good spot. The other team I would want to mention, Joe, another Premier League heavy team, is Portugal. I can't count them as a dark horse because they've won Euro in recent memory, but that is a terrific collection of talent there who always seems to have the right spirit when they come together.